Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whenever you're watching this or listening to this, I hope you're having a great day. So, welcome back to episode 19 of the Built for More podcast, which is still always so crazy that I'm still doing this, chatting to, well, not myself at the moment, but usually chatting to myself just in my study. But now today we are joined by the lovely Cath, who is currently a client of mine on Team BodyBalance. And we're just going to go through her journey, things that she's struggled with, how she's overcome them, where she's got to, all that fun stuff. So, Cath, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Cath. I've been on the Body Balance team for about 18 months now, I think it is. So yeah, quite a while. I'm 33. I'm an occupational therapist, but I work in the mental health sector. I'm a service manager at a mental health care centre for adults with severe and enduring mental illness. I'm married, have 2 cats, and a really, really big family that I see all the time and spend loads of time with when I'm not in the gym.
Yeah, I love that. It's like I'm always like on your story, like you always spend a lot of time with Patrick, your
But
nephew.
yeah.
Yeah. So, starting from the very beginning, what made you start this journey? What was your initial kind of like, I want to get help?
So I think it was probably round about summer 2022. Kind of had a bit of a sort of, I'd neglected myself probably for about 2 years at that point, and just I'd had an on-off relationship with fitness in the past, but for kind of 2 years up to that point, I'd just not really done anything, not exercised, not ate well. I worked all the way through the pandemic in quite a stressful job. We decided to move house during the pandemic into a house that needed a full renovation. I then decided to do some postgraduate study as well on top of everything. And I just really stopped prioritising myself. And I think I was down in London actually at a wedding, and I remember standing in front of the mirror in the hotel being ready for the wedding and just thinking, this is it now, this is you. I'd put quite a lot of weight on. I was really, really unhappy. But I remember just trying to have a pep talk with myself and saying, well, you need to just be happy in this body. There's loads of women that are happy in bigger bodies, and you're just going to have to learn, because you need to like yourself, and you're just going to have to accept this is you now. And I remember that thought just making me so sad and thinking, but this isn't how I want to be, and this isn't what I want to look like. I don't feel healthy. This isn't how I want to feel. And I think it was that moment where I was like, and I've got to do something about this, because I'm just so deeply unhappy with how I look and how I feel. I've got to do something. So got home from the weekend, joined the gym, and then it was probably about another 6 months before I actually stepped foot in the gym. Psyched myself up, and then it just kind of went from there, to be honest, doing classes, and then obviously I met yourself and bit the bullet and did it, because I'd just gotten so fed up of not looking after myself really and not making myself a priority.
Yeah, like I remember obviously seeing you on spin classes, but I remember you being a regular on my women's weightlifting workshops as
Yeah.
well. And I remember like whenever in Pure Gym we used to get this like list. I think they still do actually, where it's like names in the register. And whenever like your name came up, I was just like, yeah. And there was like a couple of other people as well that I was just like, it just always made my day, like just seeing people that I just got on with and clicked well
Yeah.
with. Yeah. So yeah, and then yeah,
Here
here we
we are.
are, 18 months later. So before starting with me, what were your biggest struggles with fat loss before coaching?
I think biggest struggles was just finding something that was realistic and sustainable. I'd done the boot camps, I'd done the detoxes, I'd done the 12-week challenges where you massively restrict yourself and then you just fall off the wagon, don't you? Because it's just nothing had ever sort of aligned with my goals and like my lifestyle before. So it was that really. It was finding something that I was like, yeah, do you know what? This is clicked for me now, and this has become sort of my lifestyle rather than just like a quick fix, which we all know don't work.
Yeah, 100%. And then during this journey, what's been your biggest breakthrough or haha moment? Aha, yeah.
I think I've probably been training with you for about 12 months. So yeah, probably about 6 months ago now. And I'm going to sound like really jammy here, but I've been one of those people that like consistently I'd been super motivated. I'd like absolutely loved the gym, wanted to spend time in the gym. Every session it was like, oh yeah, PBs like everywhere. And then I got to that point where I think I'd had like a really, really like a rubbish day in work, a rubbish like session in the gym, and I just thought I just didn't want to be in the gym. I was just like, I just don't want to be here. I don't want to do this. This is really hard. And I was driving home from the gym and I was thinking like, oh, I just don't feel motivated anymore. Where's all my motivation gone? Like, why do I feel like this? And I kind of had a bit of a word with myself and I was like, but you're not always going to feel motivated. But this is where your discipline has got to come in, and you've got to be disciplined to be consistent. And I went to bed that night thinking about it and thinking about like the difference between like motivation and consistency and discipline. And ever since then, I've kind of in my head thought like, this is going to sound really cheesy, but motivation will wane, but consistency must remain, because it's got to. And I think going to bed that night, I was kind of like, oh yeah, do you know what? Like, not every session's going to be amazing, but that's all right. And I thought when I was actually in the gym, I was like, this is really going to like hack me off now and I'm going to feel rubbish for the rest of the day. But I didn't. I still felt better after doing my session. And going to bed that night, I was like, no, you still needed to go and do that session, even though you didn't feel motivated, but you're not going to feel like that. And now when I don't feel motivated, I know in my head, I'm like, yeah, but you've still got to do it and you've got to have that discipline and still be consistent, and just recognizing the difference and the importance of them both. But yeah, just keeping my head on and keeping consistent.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. Because let's be honest, it's so much easier to smash your goals when you're motivated.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not something to rely on, because it is an emotion. It comes and it goes.
Yeah.
And something that helps me, because like I've had some really tough times with like motivation, where it's been like literally a month and like I've not been motivated. It's been
Yeah.
a month that I've dragged myself to the gym every single bloody session. And the thing that just keeps me going is knowing that it'll be temporary.
Yeah.
Is I've just got to keep on going, and there will be a light at the end of the tunnel. That motivation will come back. I will have one of those 10 out of 10 sessions. But what's not going to make it come back quicker is me just going, oh, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
That's going to make it even longer for it to come back. So I just approach it with it's going to come back at some point. I just need to keep on going, just like that. But yeah, that's brilliant. It's good that you obviously continue to say that to yourself when you have had those moments that I felt a little bit bleh, and through hard times as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Have you noticed any changes beyond weight loss?
Yeah, like again, this can sound really cliche, but literally my entire life has changed, all for the good. I'm so much more confident in myself, and that's had a knock-on effect on things like my relationships. So my relationship with my husband, my relationship with my friends. Because I'm better in myself, I'm better for them. And because I feel more confident, because I feel my relationship with myself is so much better now, that and then has kind of like rippled out into all the other relationships in my life, and even just my outlook on life. Don't get me wrong, things still really irritate me. I still have days where I feel really sad. I have days where I feel really annoyed. I'm not just sailing through life all like sunlight and rainbows. Like, I'm not. But I can find something good now in most situations, and situations that would have really, really stressed me out in the past. I can kind of overcome those a lot easier, and I can be like, okay, let's take a step back, let's think a lot more rationally about this. And something that would have eaten me up for like a week in the past, it's now like an hour and it's out my system and it's done, and it's like left behind, and I've processed those emotions really quickly and I've come up with a solution really quickly. Whereas like before, it kind of just fester and like niggle away at me for like days on end.
Yeah. And that is something that I do tend to tell people, like when they start a fitness journey, is that it is going to help all over areas of life, like especially mental health as well, because having that like 45 minutes to an hour, sometimes an hour and a half when you have cardio in the gym, like working on yourself, it gives you that kind of space.
Yeah.
Where then what you said about being able to step back, so you're able to step back, it helps your focus, it helps your speed of thinking. So as you were saying before, it helps you come up with solutions quicker, which then, as you said, just helps you solve problems and helps you just in all areas of life and with work as well.
Yeah. I think just that like say that hour and a half, whatever you do in the gym, you're prioritizing yourself for that hour as well. And it's that feeling of like, no, I am worth like putting myself first for X amount of time in the day. And you do feel good when you prioritize yourself, and it's not like a selfish thing or anything like that. It's just like, no, I am worth it. Like, and you just feel so much better about everything. really.
It's self-care. It's like brushing your
Yeah,
teeth,
yeah,
like washing yourself. It's the same kind of thing.
yeah.
Yeah. So how has going on this fitness journey as well impacted, as you were saying, you mentioned about your relationship with your husband, career, habits, friendships. How has it going on holiday, everything?
It's just made everything, I don't want to say easier, but better, because it's not a miracle cure. I mean, it wasn't just like, oh, I started going to the gym and everything in my life fell into place. Like, not at all. Yeah, if only. But things like, because I'm so much happier and so much more positive and so in a better place mentally. Again, obviously, that's had a mega impact on my marriage and like our relationship. And we've always been really close anyway. And like, I'm not like, it's not like, oh, before I went to the gym, we had a terrible relationship and all of a sudden but it's just giving it that little bit of an edge. And like now, my husband trains as well. And we've got that in common and that like hobby and that shared interest, which is really nice. It's made me so much more confident going on holiday. I've been like, oh yeah, let's book a holiday, let's do this. Whereas like before I'd be thinking, oh, like we're booking a holiday and I don't know what I'm gonna wear, and it's gonna take me ages to find clothes. And now we go away for a weekend, and I think I told you this that last time I went away for a weekend, I literally packed one outfit. We were going on a night out like for a meal, and I literally packed one outfit. Whereas before, the me of old would have had to pack like 8 different outfits because I'd have spent 3 hours trying to get ready and hated every single one. So it's made going away easier because now I'm just like, throw one outfit in the bag and that's it. In work, it's helped me deal with things again because I'm in a better space mentally. I can deal with stressful situations quite a lot better as well. And it has just kind of cleared my headspace, I suppose. And again, things that would make me really, really anxious in the past I'm having to deal with, I can kind of rationalize them a little bit more now and sort of think, well, I can think really logically about them and be like, well, it's not the end of the world though, is it? And if that doesn't work out, it doesn't matter, because I don't want to be sort of flippant about it. But in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter. It's not going to have, I'm not like in charge of some like world-ending nuclear weapon, do you know what I mean, or anything like that. Like if something at work doesn't work out, it is okay and it will be okay. And so it's improved that as well. And yeah, just generally just made me a little bit more easygoing and laid back about things, which I'm sure everyone around me's made up about.
But I love that, how it's just giving you like a different perspective on things as well.
Yeah.
Like especially in work, because like I remember when I was a designer, the boss got like some life coaching for some kind of like monthly wellness thing. And I remember him saying, like turning around to us all and being like, because a lot of us was mentioning how like stressed we were. And I remember him turning around and being like, you do realise that you guys are designers, not like heart surgeons.
Yeah.
And we were all kind of like, yeah, fair enough. Like, yeah. So it's sometimes you do need that, like, you know what, like things
Yeah.
are gonna be
A little bit of
okay.
perspective.
Yeah, exactly. It's like if we don't get that ad out for a hotel, like the world's not gonna end.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
okay. So also I do remember you telling me about the one outfit
Oh,
on
yeah.
holiday too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
I
was
also
just
remember,
buzzing about that.
yeah, I also remember you as well. I don't think it was your first holiday that you went away with me. I think it might have been like your second or third, but you were like buzzing about looking for outfits.
Yeah.
Like you were really excited. I
Yeah.
remember that as well. I'll be like, I love this. It's
Yeah.
almost like you can play dress up with yourself.
Yeah. I remember
Yeah.
we're not actually going now. We have ended up cancelling it because we're doing something else. But I came home and I was like, I think we should book Ibiza. We need to go to Ibiza because I look like this now and there's loads of sick outfits that I could wear. So let's book it. And the me of like 2 years ago would have just been like, there's absolutely no way I could go somewhere and wear like, and even just going shopping is so much easier, going clothes shopping. Again, I'm not saying that like I walk into a shop and everything I pick up fits me, because it definitely doesn't. But I'm so much more accepting now as well if something doesn't fit me. Like I'm not beating myself up about it. It's not me and my body isn't the issue. It's the clothes don't fit me. I'm not designed to fit into every piece of clothing because I'm not a mannequin. I'm a human being. And I can think about that now, whereas like before I'd just like lose my head and be like, oh, I'm never going to find anything and I'm not going to fit in, there's no point. And I wouldn't dream of sort of ordering most things. I just wouldn't bother online because I would just get it and just hate it and have to go through the rigmarole of like sending everything back. Whereas like now again, yeah, not everything does fit me, but that's all right and I'm okay with it. It's not this big, huge traumatic experience.
Yeah, and clothes sizes are weird anyway, so it's kind of
Yeah.
like I can go in a shop and be like 12 on one thing and 6 on another.
Yeah.
And I remember like when I was in Primark to go to Morocco last year, I picked up a pair of shorts that were I think size 10, and I was like, I'm roughly about a size 10.
Yeah.
Like I'll just put them on, and like when I put them up next to me, like not trying them on, but put them up next to me, I was like, they look a bit big then. And then like I went down like the rail and got like the sixes and like literally tried them on like underneath my dress,
Yeah.
and they fit. And I had this opposite problem where I was really upset that I was a size 6 because I was like, I want to be a 10. I want a massive ass. What is this about? I don't want to. Yeah, exactly. I was like, I'm personally offended Primark that I'm a size 6. So you can end up with that issue as well.
It's mad, isn't it, how you like change? Because I remember Craig the other week was like, all right, skinny ass. And I was like, don't call me that. I was like, that's not what I want to be.
Yeah. I've had that in the gym as well when I was training Terry once in Pure and I was like stacking the leg press up for her.
Yeah.
And someone said the same thing to me, like skinny ass, and I was like, excuse me.
Yeah.
I am working so hard to have the opposite of that.
Yeah.
I love it. So, what are you most proud of achieving so far?
The shoot. It's got to be the shoot. Like that's
Really? I was
yeah.
wondering your answer to this question. I was like, either
Really?
it's the like mega deadlift, the shoot. I can't remember. I think it was like the pull up with like the pretty much nothing band.
Oh yeah. To be fair, yeah, deadlifts and like my almost unassisted pull-ups are like up there. But I think for me the shoot, because it signifies so much more than just like my body transformation. Like I think I told you just before the shoot, like when we got married, we didn't have a photographer. We had a videographer that we took stills from, but I didn't want a photographer because I didn't feel comfortable enough to just stand and get my photo taken all day. I felt amazing, but I just didn't want that because I was like, oh, if the photos come back and I don't like any of them, I'll be really, really upset. Which, you know, a lot of people would feel like that. That's not like a unrealistic like response to your wedding day. But for me to go on that shoot, not only, don't get me wrong, I was so nervous. Like, I think, I don't know if I told you this, but I was that nervous on the first few shots when I was smiling. My bottom lip was like twitching. And I was like, no, like, is he going to be able to see this on? I was like, no, Eddie's really good. Like, it's fine. But just the fact that I actually signed up for it in the first place, did it, but then got the photos back. And because I remember like talking to you about it in the gym and saying like my biggest fear was I'll get all these photos back and I won't like a single one of them. Like I'll look at them all and completely dislike them all, and I'm not going to be able to find 5 that I like to have as my edits. And then actually I've ended up buying more because I couldn't narrow it down to 5. And although there was pictures where I was like, oh, that's not my best angle, or oh, I can see a little bit, you know, you can see the cellulite on my legs there, or you know, I feel I don't like my midsection on like that shot. I can still find something that I like on every single photo, and my mind wasn't instantly drawn to, oh, look at your midsection there. It was, look how sick your shoulders look, like look how strong you look on that picture, like look at that. And that to me is just like massive, and I can't actually believe that these words coming out of my mouth, to be honest, and that's how I feel about it, because it just shows like how much I've changed and like grown as a person.
Yeah, and it shows how much your body image has come on as well. And we all know that body image, like even though it can to a certain degree improve by your aesthetics, it isn't all your aesthetics. A lot of body image and improvement in body image comes from internal and things that you're doing. So like usually one of the things that can dramatically improve body image is very simply looking after yourself, which
Yeah.
obviously on a fitness journey, on a fat loss journey, a lot of the things that you are doing to get your goal of fat loss is looking after yourself, which will improve overall body image. Yeah, so that's brilliant. So what made you choose me as your coach? What made you choose BodyBalance?
I think doing your classes at Pure Gym, I think when I joined the gym, I'd like started following you on Instagram, and then I'd signed up to it was the women's weightlifting workshops I think I did with you first, and then obviously like then started doing your spin. And I really like your style of coaching. I really liked, like, even before I'd signed up to any of the classes and things, like just like seeing your social media, I was like, oh yeah, like you weren't kind of promoting anything faddy. You weren't, obviously you were selling yourself, you were a business, but it wasn't kind of like pushy. It was all very much centered around like us as clients rather than like you and your own sort of personal, like what, you know, your own personal agenda and things. Then obviously we did the classes and we just really got on. And I was like, oh yeah, I really like, you know, Siobhan's vibe. And I think, you know, I remember coming home and saying to Craig, I was like, there's a PT up your gym and I think I'm going to sign up with her. I was like, because I really want to work with her. And I think she's the person that's going to like be the right person for me to work with and to like go on this journey with. So yeah, just the general vibes and just that we got on so well.
It's nice to know that the leaking hair from the spin class didn't put you off.
Like, to be fair, she just is not bothered. And I was like,
I do not give a shit.
People don't find that funny, and people are sort of like, because there was always a few people at the class that were like horrified, weren't they? Now it's just like, oh no, love that. She's come back straight from the hairdresser's to spin class, like that's my kind of gal.
Yeah, so my bloody hairdresser hates me for that. It's like she hates me. And I remember Kim, who's also on the team, when it happened when she was on the spin class as well, she also found it hilarious.
Yeah.
Because I'd literally just be covered in orange. Oh, bloody hell, spin class days.
I know, way back when.
I know, honestly. To be fair, I've always said, like, ascendancy get spin bites so we can do a spin class. Like, I'd be well up for that because I miss spin classes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always said that it's weird. I don't like doing them, but I love teaching them. Yeah.
Oh no, yeah, I did always like it because some people are like, oh, it's like torture, but I didn't ever really mind spin. Like, but then I feel like if you have a break from it and then you go back to it, you're so saddle sore the day after, aren't you? And you're like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, after teaching, I don't even know how many spin classes I used to teach in a week, but I never got used to it.
Yeah.
So there'd always be like a certain point where I'd get saddle sore.
Yeah.
And I'd have like, oh, it's full on TMIs, but we don't give a shit on this podcast.
No.
Like, I full on have sores in that area. I remember like investing in like a little jelly seat.
I was going to say, didn't you have a little seat?
Yeah, I had a little jelly seat because I couldn't deal with it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's a me thing because none of the other instructors seem to like have that issue. So it's probably just a me thing.
Oh no, I remember after my first ever spin class, I came home and I was like, I think there might be something wrong. I was like, I think something. I was like, I think I'm bruised. Like I'm like, it literally felt as though like my bones were bruised and like, oh yeah, there's no pain like a spin bike pain.
Yeah, never got used to that. And I can imagine if I went back on it again because I remember my first class back on it as well, and it was only something like the 30-minute class, not 45. And I remember like the day after just like walking like John Wayne, like it was awful, it was horrible. If any of the young kids don't know who John Wayne is, it's a cowboy, by the way. It's like...
You're too young to listen to this podcast if you don't know.
Yeah, I know. Just exit the podcast. Like, I'm just showing my age here. So, how has this coaching experience, how has BodyBalance and what I do been different from other things that you've tried? Because obviously, I know that you've been boot camp before, detox and things like that.
Yeah.
How's it different?
I think for me, it's things like the weekly check-ins, the team events. You take kind of a whole life approach. Whereas when I've worked with PTs before or been to gyms before, boot camps, whatever, it's kind of been you turn up, you do your hour, you work really hard for an hour, but then that's it. Or see you next week, and that's it, like cut and shut. So for me, being able to have that check-in, that accountability, you always be in there. Kind of, I know you always say like, shoot me a message, I'm here if you need me, you know, and that's genuine as well. That kind of, it isn't just like putting lip service to something. Like you genuinely are there. Like whenever we need anything, you're there and you give us that support. The team events, honestly, I remember being really nervous for my first ever one and being like, oh, I'll go to this one and try it, and I don't know if I'll like it, and sort of keep going to them. And now like I think it's like pretty much everyone I'm like there and signing up to because it's just that sense of community. Obviously it's given me an opportunity to do things that I've never done before. So like the rural fitness event, the shoot, like the aerial hoop at the
yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Team retreat, things like that, like stuff that I would never do if I wasn't part of BodyBalance. And, you know, I've met people that I wouldn't have crossed paths with. I've like developed friendships, and that's all come from being part of the team, and that just amplifies your fitness journey. It isn't just like, oh, I go to the gym 4 times, 5 times a week. It's like, no, there's this whole other like branch to my life now, which is like Team Body Balance, and it is just that kind of elevates it and makes it so much different to anything that I've done before.
Yeah, and you and Kim are so cute as well. Like, I don't even know what the female version of a bromance is, but it's that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's brilliant though, because like, as you said, it does help you when you have like, because let's be honest, like I am your coach. I am of course here to support you. I'm here to be your biggest cheerleader. But sometimes having someone who isn't a coach give their perspective on things, like in the group
Yeah.
chat, or this is how I would solve that problem, or I am also struggling with X, Y, and Z, is different.
Yeah.
So because it's again, it's just, you can just hear other people's experiences, people who also potentially work in a similar field to you, people who all, I know obviously you don't have kids of your own yet, but for example, like with your nephew or family events, big family events and stuff like that, people who can relate.
Yeah.
Whereas all my family are in a different country,
Yeah.
so I don't really have to deal with that issue a
Yeah.
lot. So little things like that. And what specific part of the coaching process has helped you the most? Like, what do you think has been the most beneficial?
I think probably the weekly check-ins, because again it keeps you accountable and it keeps you kind of on track, and knowing that you've got that sort of that weekly like point to check in. You know, it keeps me on track. It gives me a time to kind of write everything down over a week. I use it as like a bit of an opportunity to like reflect over my week, not just my training and like my nutrition, although I do like look over that. But also, especially since kind of the check-in forms changed as well and kind of got a bit more in depth, like it makes me look back on my week and like, oh, what were like my 3 wins? Or like, I think I put like 5 on my last one because like
Yeah.
I was like, I can't narrow it down. I've had a really good week. So yeah, I think it is. And again, like that is something different to whatever I've done before. And that massively helps me. And I think just your just entire approach of kind of, it isn't just, yeah, I came to you wanting to lose body fat, but you take like a whole person approach to things, and it's like you'll call us out on things if we're not doing something right, but you do it in kind of a way that's like, well, I'm not just going to tell you off because you're an adult, but you make us accountable as well. And it isn't just the check-in isn't kind of just a tick box exercise. Like it's bigger than that, and it's a look at how things are going, where do we need to go to next, and it makes us think about that as well as you. It's not just I'm going to tell you tell us what to do, obviously, but it's you kind of help us find our own solutions as well a bit, and it isn't just I'm going to blindly tell you do X, Y, and Z for this next week. It's really like delving deeper than that, and you look at us all like individually and like what we've got going on outside of the gym as well, and use that to kind of build on the next week, next few weeks, next month, and whatever, and sort of help us to achieve our goals as well.
Yeah, like one of the questions in the check-in is, what challenges do you have in the next few weeks, and what do you think you can do to get over them, basically. So I always like to have that question, and I always like to ask you guys how you're going to approach it, so that you can learn,
Yeah.
and that we can have that back and forth. And if I always use this example, that if one of your challenges, if you have like a family buffet and your approach is to starve yourself all day and then go ham on the family buffet, then I can be like, not too sure about that, like that idea. Why don't we do X, Y, or Z? And then giving you a choice. So again, you're just learning and learning and learning.
Yeah.
I know one of the girls on the team, she's gone out to eat a few times the past month. The first 2 times, well, the first time she sent me over a menu, and she was like, "Would you tell me, like, give me some ideas of what I could
Yeah.
get on this menu?" So I looked over the menu and I was like, A, B, or C. And then the next time she sent me over a menu, I was like, okay, when you send me over this menu, I also want you to tell me what you think.
Yeah.
And then when she did it, I was like, you know what? Fucking bang on. I don't even ask for more
Yeah.
than that. So now again, she's learned and she feels confident. If she didn't feel confident, of course I'll look for a menu
Yeah.
and help her with that. Apologies. I'm guessing she's crying. I don't know if you can hear that or not. But yeah, if she needed me to look over it, of course I will. But my job is to not just have you relying on me
Yeah.
constantly. Even though obviously I'm more than happy to support, I want you to also learn yourself.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, how are you then going to maintain the results if you don't know, you know what I mean? Like the
Yeah.
solution yourself.
Yeah. And I think it's that for me is massive. It's not that sort of, you're not trying to retain us for life, and you are teachers, and I've learned so much more about the gym and different exercises, but also how to manage life outside of the gym as well. Again, it doesn't just become that kind of, "Oh, I need to go to the gym for 3 hours this morning because I'm going out for a meal tonight." It's like, well, no, let's have a look at the rest of my week, and how can I amend sort of what the rest of my week looks like to fit that meal in, or how can I look at that meal, and yeah, eating out is something really nice and really positive, but how can I make that align with my goals as well? And it's that kind of independence that like we have, and like people on the team will have, because of the way that you coach us. It isn't just like, well, go out and eat a chicken salad. It's, you give us the tools that we then need to kind of go off and be able to manage those things ourselves.
Yeah. And sometimes as well, like, I don't know if you've noticed when you go and look at a menu, but a lot of the time the chicken salads are usually more calorific than other
Yeah,
meals that you'd rather have.
yeah, yeah. And it's
So
that,
yeah,
isn't it, as well? It's like don't see it as a bad thing, and look at, what, and I think you become sort of more inclined to, you don't, your kind of way of like teaching and coaching people, it's like there's no bad foods. Don't see it as like that burger is bad. It's, and equally sort of having that accountability and that responsibility for your actions, I suppose, in a way, and being like, do you know what, if you choose to go out and eat 3,000 calories in a sitting, like what are the consequences of that going to be? And like, you need to be an adult, and if you're willing to be, yeah, okay, do you know what, memories over macros, and like, if, going on holiday, you're not going to track, you're going to eat what you want, but then when you come home, don't be expecting to have lost 3 kilos while you're away. You will have gained like water, you will be holding on to, more weight, but what are you going to do about that when you get back, and sort of own up to your actions, but like have sort of accept that if you want to do those things, that's fine, and they're not going to get in the way of your goals and achieving your goals. It just might make it that bit longer that you're on
yeah.
your journey, and that's okay.
It's just taking ownership, because some
Yeah,
people, like, again, everyone's different. The way that people holiday is completely different. Obviously, me now in Bulgaria, it's a little bit different because I'm on prep, so I
yeah,
don't really have a choice. I've got to track, I've got to do my steps, I've done all my training before I've gone. But if I was to go on holiday, I don't track, I eat intuitively. Depending on the holiday, sometimes I train, sometimes I don't. Again, but I'll make choices that align my goals. But if I didn't, and if I went away and I pressed the fuck it button and I came back, it's almost like, don't be upset by the actions that you made and the choices that
yeah,
you made. And I mean, to be fair, like as I said, sometimes it is memories over macros, and sometimes you might have like a fuck it button moment, but then just accept, as you said yourself, your journey will take a little bit longer. And
yeah,
some people are okay with that. Like I mentioned, was speaking to someone on the team who has like, she has 2 hen parties coming up, and she has like another event as well. And I just said like, okay, well, how are we going to manage these events? And she told me, and I just said like, what do you think the consequences of that's going to be? And she was like, oh, I don't think I'll lose in those like couple of
yeah,
weeks. And I said, are you okay with that? And she was like, yeah, I'm okay with that. And I'm like, you're like, I am too,
yeah,
and that's fine as long as you're aware that that's sound.
yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So, was there anything that you were a bit skeptical at first before jumping on the team with, and how do you feel about it now?
I don't think skeptical. I think I was more nervous about the check-in, because I was like, I remember like sitting down in the little consultation room at Pure and talking to you about it, and you're like, oh, you do a weekly check-in and all this, and I remember thinking, geez, like, is this going to be like really intense, and like, am I gonna am I gonna be able to not be able to do it? But I was thinking, and am I going to remember to do it? Am I going to, is it going to kind of take over my life? And again, it just kind of shows like the mindset I was in then compared to the mindset I'm in now. Because I remember thinking like, geez, like, I don't know if this is all going to be a little bit intense for me, this, and and a bit sort of full on and things. Whereas like now I'm like, it's the best thing like for me to use and do, and I love the check-in every week, and I've never forgotten to do it once and all kinds. And I also think that the sort of using my fitness pal as well, I think I was a little bit like, it won't matter if I don't track anything. I think I was just a bit like, we'll just see how I get on with that. I might not, like, I'll just see. And then I think I'd literally been using it for like 2 days, and I was like, this is great. It makes everything so much easier. I can just like scan a barcode and I know how much it's gonna, like, how many calories, what the macros are, everything like this. I think at first I was a bit, oh, that's all gonna be too faffy for me. Like, I'm not gonna bother because I haven't got time. Whereas like now I see it as, no, it saves me a load of time because I know I can just track my day in like the night before or the morning of, and I just know then like what I've got prepped for the day. I can just eat. I don't have to, it saves me time, and again it just helps me get to my goals quicker as well.
Yeah, my fitness pal, like I know a lot of people are a little bit like about it, but I'm
Yeah.
honestly like, I mean, I'm never gonna use it forever. Obviously, like
Yeah.
I'm 80 years old, I don't want to be using my fitness pal, fair enough. But I use it as well as like obviously with the organisation and planning, but I also use it for an educational tool
Yeah.
because like even literally today, like me and my dad were having a chat outside because we were talking about this Sunday dinner that he made us. And he was just like, he's done this for the veg. He was like, I've done this for the veg. It's probably about 13 calories for the veg. And I was like, no, it's not. And he was like, oh yeah, it is. It is. The packet says it is. And I was like, right. So you've definitely given me over 100 grams of veg. And I know the least calorific thing on that plate is the broccoli. So let's just pretend all of it's broccoli. So I put in 100 grams of broccoli, it was 40 odd calories, I think it was 49 calories. And he was like, no, it's not. And I literally turned it around and I was like, broccoli is broccoli.
Yeah.
Just like chicken breast is chicken breast, just like oats are oats. That's the calories of it. And he was like, oh, okay. And I was like, he's probably just not weighed it and just gone
Yeah.
like, a portion is 13 calories, fair enough. But it's not the whole plate and veg on there.
Yeah.
So, and even like, he bought me a chocolate bar from the shop that he went down to, and I guesstimated in my head, it's like this little wafer thing.
Mm.
I guesstimated in my head that it'd be like 130 at 150, and I scanned it in on my fitness pal, works abroad as well, and it came up with like 200 odd calories, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, not tonight then.
Yeah.
So again, I can just use it as an educational tool.
Yeah.
Because if I was just like winging it and going, oh yeah, it's 150 calories, but it's not at all, then
Yeah.
again, I won't get to my goal.
Yeah, and I think it's good for using, like, because if you're not sort of particularly like knowledgeable or educated on like different foods, and you could just think a protein source is a protein source, whereas like yourself, like even different parts of a chicken are completely different. So like chicken thigh versus like chicken breast is completely different. Then and it's just really good for that, because I think it is a real eye opener sometimes, isn't it? You'll sort of think, oh my goodness me, like I did not realise that or that portion size is that I can have that much, or that's how much I've been having. Things like butter and sauces and things like that. Like in the past, I'd never think about tracking that, but that can quickly rack up to like a few
It
hundred
does,
calories in your day, which makes
yeah,
like such a difference.
yeah, and like even with the, because I've been guilty of this before I opened up my fitness pal with the I'm eating healthy,
Yeah,
but like I know you're a salmon lover. I'm a salmon lover, but salmon it's incredible on protein, but it's quite calorie dense because it's
yeah,
high fat fish, which is not bad. It's good fats, but obviously if you're in a calorie deficit and you have bugger all to work with, it
yeah,
can take up quite a lot of your calories.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Have I ever told my chickpea story?
no,
No. Oh my god, you're in for a treat. It's thrilling. But when I very very first started out with a coach, the way that this particular coach worked is that she gave like lists. Well, she'd give you like X amount of grams of protein, X amount of grams of this, X
yeah,
amount. But like the protein, I mistook. Well, she had like lists of protein. I remember one of like the veggie options was chickpeas, and I was like veggie at the time,
yeah,
so I was just kind of like, all right, chickpeas, that's a source of protein. I'll have 100 grams of like chickpeas or whatever with whatever this meal is. And I remember like I can't even remember how it came up in like a check-in because I just had to write this email once a week out to her.
mm,
And it came up that I was having, oh, she might have questioned me on like my meals, and I think I might have just messaged her back. And then she was kind of like, what are you having chickpeas for? And I was just like, oh, for my protein. And she was like, chickpeas are not a source of protein because they have protein in them, but
yeah.
it's mostly carbohydrates. It's more of a carbohydrate source than a protein source. And I remember it blowing my brain, being like, no wonder like I've been feeling shit for so
Yeah.
long because I've pretty much not been having protein because I've had chickpeas like 2 or 3 times a day. Like I had this weird obsession with chickpeas. We don't want to go there.
Time.
Yeah, I remember having chickpeas constantly being like, "Oh yeah, I'm getting my protein," and it was just like more and more carbs, and I'm just like wondering why
Your
I just
poor
look fat and look
digestive
stuff.
system.
Honestly, yeah. It's like wondering why I'm always bloated and like just feeling great because I'm having zero protein. But yeah, and again, now that I'm tracking and I tracked it and I realised because after that whole chickpea situation, I then had to learn how to track.
Yeah,
And then once I learned how to track, I was like, oh my god, yeah, it is. It's carbs.
yeah, yeah,
So yeah, use my fitness pal, learn nutrition. Don't be like me and think chickpeas are a source of protein. Right. Honestly, this is why I say I cannot judge anyone because I've probably been there and I've probably
yeah.
done something stupid myself.
Yeah, I've massively done it, like, in the past. I think kind of on the run up to my wedding, and I was sort of doing like a boot camp, and I didn't really know that much around nutrition. Like, my focus definitely wasn't kind of on getting enough protein and things like that. It was just I just was hardly eating any food at all. Like, when I look back now, and I just think, oh my goodness, like, how was I functioning on that amount of food? And yeah, don't get me wrong, like, I did lose a load of body fat, but I had like zero muscle definition. I had like no, and I just think, oh my goodness, like, what that I was in my head thinking, oh yeah, I'm really healthy because I was just living off salads and stir fries essentially.
Mm.
Which, again, nothing wrong with salads or stir fries, but only if you're supplementing them with enough protein, some carbs, like, and enjoying your food as well, like having food that, a bit of that soul food as well, and stuff to nourish your body, not just, yeah, but it's crazy, isn't it? Like, what we sort of think is like healthy, and then you're like, I know now, like, what an idiot I was.
Yeah, and then you like educate yourself and
Yeah,
realise, yeah, it's like, oh, no wonder none of these bloody diets have worked before, but I've been able to stick with them because they're all odd.
yeah. Yeah, I did. I remember once it was like a 21-day detox, and it was all around like carb cycling. So you'd have like high, moderate, and low carb days, and it had like completely cut out like anything processed. It was all around like clean foods. And I remember sitting in the staff room at work and just thinking, what are you doing? Because I was literally eating like a bowl full of just raw spinach, like nothing on it at all, just spinach with a few chunks of like dry chicken breast, and it was just one of the worst things I've ever ate in my life. And I just remember thinking, like, why are you doing this to yourself? You think it's no wonder that people don't stick to things, because if that's what you've got to eat for 3 weeks, like, it just is not sustainable. And I look back now and I think, I actually can't believe that I forced that. I'd eat like a bag of rocket for my lunch, and that would be my lunch. A bag of rocket with like a bit of balsamic vinegar on. And it's like, there's no nutritional value in that. Come on. Like, what? Like, what's, yeah, it's just dark times.
Like that. Whereas like the way that I eat now, so when I'm in a deficit and when I'm in a surplus, is pretty much exactly the same. I just eat
Yeah,
more or less of it.
yeah,
It's just like when I'm in a surplus, I might like every now and again, because I have the calories for it, is get a grenade bar or get a
yeah,
muffin or something like that, or have like a bit of full fat ice cream instead of halo top. Like I might
yeah.
just do things like that. But other than that, like my diet pretty much stays exactly the same, just more or less.
Well, I think I said on my, I don't know if it was on my check-in, or I just said to you in person when I'd come off kind of after the shoot, and I'd gone into like maintenance calories, and I was like, oh, amazing, all these calories. But then actually, when I looked back on it, I was like, I've just kind of eaten the same as what I would anyway. Like you say, just a little bit more. Or at like the end of the day, I'd be like, oh, I've got enough calories for like a curly whirly, or like, or
Yeah, yeah.
banana. Like, literally, I've been buzzing to have like a piece of salmon and bananas, because obviously, like when I was on shoot prep, they weren't in my meal plan, so I did a meal
Yeah.
plan. But also before that, when I was kind of in a deficit and on, like, obviously things like a banana, you'd be like, oh, it, like, I've not got as much wiggle room. Whereas like now, like in the morning, I'll be like, oh, I'm gonna have, what snacks can I take to work? Like, this to me, this is amazing. But I haven't really ate that differently. Like, even though now I'm in maintenance, it is, like you say, just that little bit more, or you have just got that little bit of flexibility. My diet hasn't particularly changed, and it just goes to show that you can make things fit, and it has just completely transformed the way that I eat and I see food.
Yeah, and I love like a natural diet banana as well, because like bananas are amazing, but they are calorie dense for what they are.
Yeah.
So it's
And you're
always
like,
good, like even myself, like when it gets that point in a bulk where I'm like, oh yeah, bananas.
yes. You're like, there's not much protein in them, and they're sort of what, like 105, 110 calories, and you're just like,
Yeah.
oh, that's the difference between like having a banana or like, I think the other day I tracked in a curly whale that was like 96 calories, and you're like, I appreciate bananas like better for me in the long run, but I was like, if I'm on rock all calories and I'm playing around with 100 at the end of the day, I know I'm
Yeah,
gonna.
taking the curly whirly. I love that. I love the honesty as
Yeah,
well. It's like,
I
I'm
know
having
what
my
I'm
fucking
making.
curly
It's
whirly.
not a
But
banana.
it's like me, like I will always say, no matter how low my calories go, I will always have chocolate
Yeah.
every single day. Like no one is taking that chocolate. I will give up so much rice and oats or whatever to have that chocolate. Like I don't care, I need it.
Yeah.
But that's what keeps me consistent, because it's a chocolate or a padded cell. So
Well,
I shouldn't be saying that to you working in your line of work. I'll be at your place. But what's been your favourite part of working together?
I think a couple of things. One, just seeing how strong I've got, like physically, and pushing myself in ways like in the gym that I would never have been comfortable and confident to do. Like, if I hadn't been working with you, I would never ever have like felt confident just like walking into the free weights area or getting up on like a deadlift platform and, doing those kind of movements. I do still get a little bit gassed when I do my deadlifts every week. I am like, oh yeah, this is like big boy weights here. And I like that sort of reaction that I get from people when I pick something up that's quite heavy, or they ask me how my training's going, and they'll say like, oh, what's your deadlift? And then I tell them, and they're like, that's more than most people, that's more than everyone in this room like weighs and stuff. And I'm just like, yeah, I know, like, studying it, like, honestly,
Yeah.
yeah, that's about me. But yeah, be careful, be nice, but also just that again, the team events and doing things that I'd never have done before, like the rural fitness, like that was such a laugh, and pushing myself out of my comfort zone, and just being able to experience things that I just wouldn't if I wasn't on the team.
Yeah. Are you on your rural fitness this year as well?
Yeah,
That's going to be fun. Like
yeah.
just seeing how much more strong you've got.
I know, I can't wait to get on the Atlas Stones again.
Like give me the bigger one this
Yeah,
time.
come on, let's ramp it up again this year.
Love it. If you could go back in time, what advice would you give yourself?
It sounds really cliche, but just do it sooner. Like, I think because of how I feel now, and I feel genuinely hands on heart, like the best I have felt it like in my entire life. And I think everyone around me can see that and would like attest to that. And I do just think to myself, why did it take me so long to actually start looking after myself and taking care of myself the way, I've, for how long I've been working for now in my job, like 12 years. For the last like 12 years, I have been preaching to people, you've got to look after yourself before you can look after other people. And, it's really important to prioritize yourself and self-care and all this, and really promoting that like positive mental attitude and being kind to yourself and doing those things for yourself. I just think, why did I go so long ignoring my own advice? Like, what? And I think health professionals, like, we are the worst patients, like anyone will tell you that. But I do just think, why did it take me so long to start taking care of myself? Because I actually really like myself now, and that's really, really cool. Like, it's not a bad thing to like yourself. It's not conceited, it's not vain, it's not a bad thing. Like,
Yeah.
it's really, really good to be in love with yourself and to feel like this. And I can't believe it's taken me till I was like 33 years old to feel like this.
Yeah. And it's almost like going back to what you were saying about like the wedding situation in front of the mirror, where you was almost like trying to talk yourself into loving yourself.
Yeah,
And now you don't have to do that. You just like yourself. You're not having to convince yourself. You're not having to tell yourself what would have been a story.
yeah,
Now you're just like, no, I do like myself. Like there's no lie there. You genuinely do.
yeah. And like I say, it isn't, that doesn't mean that every day I wake up and I'm like, oh yeah, I look banging today. Some morning, most mornings I wake up and I think, like, some work to do. Like, whoa. But it's more than that. And it's like, no, I am worthy to have like these good things in my life, like to be loved and to, take up space in the gym and to invest in myself. And, whether that is like financially treating myself or whatever, or just to take the time out to say no, to not have to please every single person around me all of the time, if that's to my detriment. Like, I am worth all of that. And that's fine. And I think, no, do you know what? Like, you're a decent human being and you're actually all right. So it's just,
Love it.
yeah, have a cheese fest, but
It's not though, because it's good to have that.
yeah.
And I think there's a lot of people in the world that would, some people as well, I've noticed, they don't like saying that they don't like the way they look
Yeah.
in a bigger body, because of like, I mean, there's nothing wrong with body positivity movements at all. It's not. But I think sometimes it can make people feel guilty for wanting to change.
Yeah.
So, and I think that there might be someone listening to this podcast now and be like, I felt like that and I've
Yeah.
not wanted to open up and say something and do something. So it's almost like hearing it from someone else will help them.
Yeah. And I think it is, it's that, if you are happy, everyone deserves to be happy with themselves, don't they? Like, everyone deserves to feel comfortable and confident and happy. And I just think if you are genuinely happy, that's absolutely fine. But like you said, there's nothing wrong in being like, no, do you know what? I'm not happy. And it's not about body shaming anyone or thinking that you're better because of, your dress size doesn't define you at the end of the day. The number on the scale doesn't define you. And, this whole, one of the things I've stopped saying to myself is, because you say all the time, "Oh, I'm fat. And it's like, no, you're not fat. You are not fat. You have body fat, but you are not fat, because fat is not the word that is you and defines you. You are a lot of other things. And I think it's about that sort of, if it makes you happy, then do it. And it is fine to turn around and be like, no, do you know what? I'm not happy. If people are happy in a big body, that's absolutely fine. You do you. But for me, I was not happy, and I would have just been completely kidding myself if I'd have carried on down that journey and tried to convince myself that I was happy and I did like myself when I looked a certain way, because I just wasn't, and I wasn't being truthful to myself.
Yeah. And it's like similar to me as well, like my kind of goal. Obviously, I have competing goals and stuff like that, but ultimately, I want to look in the mirror or like walk past the shop window, catch myself in the shop mirror, and I want to be like, damn, I would. Like,
Yeah.
that's what I want. I want to be like, oh yeah, John's a lucky guy. That's what I
Yeah.
want to think.
Yeah.
Because I'm not doing it for John. I'm doing it for me. Because
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. And when you're like,
I want to fancy myself. Like, if John fancies me, cool. If he doesn't, he doesn't. But I want to fancy him.
and if people are like, oh yeah, Craig and John are punching, it's like, yeah, do you know what? They are, you're right. Like,
Yeah. Exactly. That's what I want my reaction to be. It's like, yeah, John's a lucky fella.
it's like, yeah, no. Like, oh, Craig's so lucky to have it. Yeah, no.
Yeah, yeah. That's essentially the goal for me
Yeah.
anyway. And final question, would you recommend this coaching, body balance, to others, and why?
Oh yeah, 100%. Because I just think it is just life changing. And I think if you don't do it, if you're not prepared to put in the graft, because there's no point. I mean, and if you're not going to commit to it, and if you're not in that headspace where you're not ready to kind of commit and make yourself a priority and work hard, because it is hard work. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh yeah, it's really, really easy. And ever since signing up with Siobhan, my life has just been, really easy. Going to the gym is really easy. Like, being in a deficit's like really, really, really easy, because it's not. And but with your guidance, that does make it a lot easier, and you're not trying to go it alone. And I think that's where a lot of people struggle or kind of stumble, is that they're trying to do it themselves, or they're watching like influencers. Not that there's anything wrong with like, but they're watching like influencers online, and they're watching little gym videos, and the form's not right, or they're changing the programs all the time and stuff. And that's why people stumble, because they've not got that support. But yeah, 100%, like, if you're willing to sort of put in the graft with like a really, really knowledgeable coach and an amazing team around you, and do it, because it will literally change your life.
Yeah, yeah. You said it bang on, like nail on the head there. It's like you put in the graph, because I'm a great coach and it's glad to know that you
No.
think so too, but I'm not God. I'm not a magic pill.
No.
Like, it does take hard work.
Yeah.
There are moments where you're like, why the fuck am I doing this? Like, there are good moments like that. Like, I have those moments where I'm like, why am I here? Like, but it's underneath this bloody barbell. But it is what it is. Like, the results speak for themselves, and not even just the physical results, but the like mindset results and the way that you think about things differently.
Yeah, 100%.
Perfect. So I will wrap up this podcast here at an hour. I know I'm always like this. I'm such a chatterbox.
You know what our sessions go like? It was never going to be done in half an hour, was it?
Like,
People were
feels
like,
like
why were you so
15
long
minutes.
in the gym? And I'm like, we're just gassing, like, we're just talking.
Yeah. Catching up and setting the world to right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll wrap up this podcast here. If any of you lovely lot want to follow either me or Cath on Instagram, I'll put our Instagram handles in the bottom. And if you have any questions, as usual, please just drop a comment either on drop at the bottom of Spotify, which you can do on this podcast, or on YouTube as well, and I'll get back to you ASAP. But thank you guys so much for listening to us, and yeah, I'll see you on the next one.